Around 400 million years ago, Earth's landscapes were vastly different from what we see today. Lush forests of towering club mosses, giant ferns, and vast swamplands defined the ancient Carboniferous and Devonian periods. In this primeval world, life was starting to experiment with new forms of locomotion, one of which would forever change the dynamics of Earth's ecosystems: flight. But before birds or even pterosaurs appeared, it was the insects that achieved this remarkable feat, becoming the first creatures to conquer the skies. The birth of wings in insects represented a revolutionary leap in evolution, providing new opportunities for survival, reproduction, and dominance. The question of how wings evolved in insects has intrigued scientists for decades. It's widely believed that insect wings might have originated as extensions of the exoskeleton, particularly from the thoracic or abdominal segments. Some researchers suggest that these extensions initially functioned as gills for underwater respiration in primitive aquatic environments. Over time, these gill-like structures might have transformed into movable flaps, enabling their owners to glide between plants or escape predators more effectively. This transition from gliding to powered flight is thought to have occurred gradually, with natural selection favoring insects that could control their movements in the air more precisely. Another leading hypothesis proposes that wings evolved from paranotal lobes, which were rigid extensions of the thorax in ancient insect ancestors. These lobes might have provided stability and balance when these early insects leaped or fell from plants. With slight modifications over time, these structures could have become increasingly aerodynamic, evolving into flexible, hinged wings capable of generating lift and thrust. This shift, which likely took place over millions of years, provided ancient insects with a revolutionary advantage in a world filled with towering vegetation, predators, and new niches to explore. The advent of wings offered insects several critical survival benefits. First, it opened up new ecological niches. The earliest flyers could access fresh food sources like high-growing vegetation and small flying prey. Additionally, being able to fly allowed insects to avoid predators more effectively, escape from dangerous situations, and migrate to more favorable habitats in search of food or mates. Flight also likely enhanced reproduction, as insects could cover larger territories in search of mates and places to lay their eggs. Fossil records, while incomplete, reveal glimpses of these early winged insects. Meganeura, one of the most iconic ancient insects, resembled modern dragonflies but boasted a wingspan of nearly 2 feet. Fossil evidence of its robust wing structure suggests that it was capable of swift, agile flight, making it a dominant aerial predator of its time. The emergence of such large, flight-capable insects indicates that the evolution of wings was not merely a superficial change, but a profound transformation that enabled these creatures to redefine their role in the ancient ecosystems. As insect wings evolved, the physiology of their bodies also adapted. To sustain flight, insects developed more efficient respiratory and circulatory systems. They acquired structures called tracheae, which helped transport oxygen directly to their muscles, supporting the energy-intensive demands of flight. Their muscles and exoskeletons also became more specialized, allowing for the rapid and controlled movements required for precise aerial navigation. Over time, this ability to explore and exploit the aerial environment allowed insects to diversify and radiate into new species, dominating terrestrial ecosystems and outpacing other arthropods. This evolutionary success laid the groundwork for insects to become one of the most diverse and adaptable groups of animals on the planet, with wings serving as their key to conquest. While the birth of wings provided insects with a profound evolutionary advantage, it wasn't the end of the story. As we move forward in time to the Carboniferous period, insects didn't just evolve wings, they grew to astonishing sizes. Around 300 million years ago, during the Carboniferous period, the Earth experienced unique atmospheric and environmental conditions. Towering swamp forests thrived in the oxygen-rich air, providing a habitat unlike anything seen today. This era is marked not only by the abundance of plant life, but also by the emergence of giant insects and arthropods, some of which reached sizes that seem almost alien in comparison to modern insects. One of the most iconic examples from this period is Meganeura, a dragonfly-like insect with a wingspan that could exceed 2 feet. To put this into perspective, Meganeura was nearly the size of a modern-day seagull, an unimaginable size for an insect today. But Meganeura was not alone in this age of giants. Other insects, such as the massive millipede-like Arthropleura, which could grow over 8 feet long, and the predatory Pulmonoscorpius, a giant scorpion, also roamed the Carboniferous forests. Scientists believe that one of the main reasons for this gigantism was the Earth's atmospheric composition at the time. The atmosphere during the Carboniferous had an exceptionally high concentration of oxygen, estimated to be around 35% compared to today's 21%. This elevated oxygen level likely played a critical role in allowing insects to grow so large. Insects rely on their tracheal system to transport oxygen directly to their tissues. With more oxygen available in the atmosphere, these tracheal systems could support larger bodies, enabling insects to grow to sizes that would not be feasible in today's environment. The gigantism of insects in this period wasn't just a matter of size for size's sake. It had significant implications for their ecology and behavior. Larger insects could dominate both the air and the ground, preying on smaller creatures and potentially competing with early amphibians and reptiles for resources. They likely played a crucial role in shaping the structure of Carboniferous ecosystems, influencing plant evolution and the development of other terrestrial animals. Interestingly, the rise of these giant insects also coincided with an era of intense competition and adaptation. The large wingspans of Meganeura and similar species enabled them to cover vast territories and pursue prey with greater efficiency. Their dominance in the air might have been an early example of apex predation, with these enormous dragonfly-like insects acting as the top aerial predators of their time. However, with great size came new challenges. These giant insects needed ample resources to sustain their large bodies, and their size made them vulnerable to changing environmental conditions and emerging competition from other creatures. As we explore the Carboniferous period further, it becomes clear that the enormous size of these insects was both a product of their environment and a defining factor in their ecological interactions. However, as Earth's climate and atmosphere began to change, the conditions that favoured insect gigantism eventually diminished. Shifts in climate, along with the evolution of new predators and competitors, such as early reptiles and amphibians, posed new challenges for these ancient giants. By the end of the Carboniferous period, the oxygen levels in the atmosphere began to decline, contributing to the gradual disappearance of the giant insects. The cooler and drier conditions of the ensuing Permian period also brought about significant changes in the structure of terrestrial ecosystems. While these massive insects may have vanished, their legacy persisted in the evolutionary pathways that would give rise to new forms of life. The story of prehistoric insects is a testament to the adaptability and resilience of life on Earth. From the birth of wings to the rise of giants, these ancient pioneers of the skies shaped the early world in ways that continue to resonate today. Their innovations in flight and their ability to exploit new ecological opportunities set the stage for countless evolutionary developments, paving the way for the birds, bats, and other flying creatures that would follow. As prehistoric insects evolved wings, they didn't just gain the ability to fly. They also began to explore new forms and mechanics of flight. The emergence of various flight capabilities among ancient insects was a pivotal moment in evolutionary history, and it showcases the diversity of adaptations that insects developed to thrive in different ecological niches. Unlike the comparatively straightforward gliding mechanisms seen in some reptiles or mammals, insects evolved a wide range of wing structures and flight patterns, each tailored to their environment, behaviours, and the challenges they faced. The most ancient flying insects were likely clumsy and limited in their aerial abilities, capable of short bursts of flight or simple gliding. However, as millions of years passed, evolutionary pressures pushed these early insects to refine their flight mechanics. Fossil records, along with modern studies on wing structures and muscle development, have revealed that insects like ancient dragonflies, Odonata, were some of the first to perfect powered flight. The dragonfly's wing structure is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, characterized by rigid, vein-supported wings that allow for rapid flapping and agile maneuverability. The unique musculature of dragonflies enables them to control each of their four wings independently, giving them unparalleled flight control. They can hover in place, zip forward at high speeds, change direction instantaneously, and even fly backward. The secret behind this exceptional agility lies in the arrangement of the wing veins and the sophisticated control mechanisms at the insect's wing joints. Dragonflies, even today, possess a highly developed nerve muscle system that allows them to react quickly to environmental cues. In the Carboniferous and Permian periods, when early dragonflies dominated the skies, these adaptations made them highly effective aerial hunters. Fossils of these early dragonflies suggest they could capture prey in mid-air with pinpoint accuracy, using their basket-like arrangement of legs to scoop up smaller insects. While dragonflies mastered agile flight, other prehistoric insects experimented with different approaches. Early beetles, for example, developed a distinct method of flying that involved using two pairs of wings in tandem. The hard, protective forewings known as elytra provided a sturdy cover for their delicate hindwings. When taking flight, beetles would lift their elytra and rapidly flap their hindwings. This design allowed beetles to combine the benefits of a sturdy exoskeleton for protection with the advantages of relatively light, flexible wings for flight. The evolution of elytra not only enhanced beetles' flight abilities, but also provided them with better protection against predators and environmental damage, allowing them to explore diverse habitats. The development of various wing types among prehistoric insects also illustrates the ways in which these early flyers adapted to their surroundings. For instance, some of the earliest insects were known to have membranous wings, which are thin, translucent, and reinforced with intricate networks of veins. These wings offered a lightweight yet robust structure that could sustain prolonged flight, enabling insects to cover large areas in search of food, mates, or new habitats. This adaptation likely allowed them to colonize new ecological niches, spreading across vast stretches of land and contributing to their rapid diversification. One of the most remarkable feats of prehistoric insects was the evolution of rapid wing beats. Some ancient flying insects, much like their modern descendants, could beat their wings several times faster than the human eye can perceive. For example, early wasp-like insects are thought to have had extremely fast wing beats, which enabled them to hover in place and perform quick, darting movements to capture prey or escape from danger. Fossil evidence and studies of modern relatives provide clues about how these adaptations might have arisen. The ability to hover and make quick maneuvers gave these insects an advantage in forested environments where obstacles like tree branches and dense vegetation required precise navigation skills. Prehistoric insects also faced the challenge of sustaining long-distance flights. The early ancestors of butterflies and moths developed broad, scaled wings that were designed for gliding and riding thermal currents, much like modern butterflies. This adaptation enabled these insects to conserve energy while covering long distances in search of food sources or suitable habitats. These scaled wings not only helped with flight efficiency, but also played a crucial role in thermoregulation, coloration, and camouflage, which would prove vital in avoiding predators and attracting mates. In addition to the structural adaptations in their wings, prehistoric insects developed specialized musculature and energy systems to support different styles of flight. Unlike vertebrates, which rely on a centralized set of muscles for movement, insects have decentralized muscle systems directly attached to their wings. This arrangement allows insects to fine-tune each wing beat, making split-second adjustments for optimal flight control. Moreover, prehistoric insects like the dragonflies had synchronous flight muscles, which enabled powerful wing beats at relatively low frequencies. Over time, other groups of insects evolved asynchronous flight muscles, allowing them to beat their wings at incredibly high frequencies without the need for direct nerve stimulation for each wing beat. This innovation in muscle structure played a critical role in the development of efficient flight in insects like bees, wasps, and flies. By utilizing asynchronous flight muscles, these insects could achieve rapid wing movements while maintaining energy efficiency. This adaptation likely helped them thrive in various ecological niches where precise and high-speed flight was necessary for activities such as pollination, predator evasion, and territorial defense. As different prehistoric insects perfected their flight mechanics, they also adapted their lifestyles and behaviors to capitalize on their newfound mobility. The ability to fly offered these early insects numerous advantages, such as access to previously unreachable food sources, escape from ground-based predators, and the opportunity to migrate to new areas in response to changing environmental conditions. The diversity in wing structures and flight styles among prehistoric insects suggests that flight was a driving force in their evolutionary success and diversification. For instance, flight enabled early predatory insects to specialize in aerial hunting strategies. Some developed keen eyesight to spot prey from a distance, while others evolved complex behaviors like ambushing and capturing prey mid-flight. Insects like the ancient dragonflies honed their skills as aerial predators, using their agility and speed to outmaneuver and capture smaller insects. Fossil evidence even suggests that certain ancient insects had specialized spiny legs adapted for grasping prey in mid-air, demonstrating how the evolution of flight reshaped their predatory strategies. Other insects adapted to flight in ways that improved their reproductive success. Flight provided a means for males to locate and reach distant females during mating seasons, leading to more effective dispersal of genes and greater genetic diversity. In addition, flying insects could disperse their eggs over a wider area, increasing their chances of survival in dynamic and unpredictable environments. The diversity in flight mechanics among prehistoric insects also had significant implications for their interactions with other species. For example, early herbivorous insects that developed the ability to fly could access new feeding grounds in the tree canopies, avoiding competition with ground-dwelling species. This vertical partitioning of habitats likely reduced competition for resources, allowing multiple insect species to coexist and thrive in the same ecosystem. As prehistoric insects perfected their flight mechanics, they set the stage for the evolution of more complex interactions within ecosystems. The emergence of flying insects had a profound impact on plant evolution, leading to the development of new reproductive strategies and the spread of flowering plants. In return, the increased availability of nectar and pollen provided a rich food source for insects, driving the evolution of specialized feeding and pollination behaviors. The perfection of flight mechanics in prehistoric insects represents one of the most significant achievements in the history of life on Earth. From the agile, predatory dragonflies to the resilient, gliding beetles, these ancient flyers laid the foundation for the complex and interconnected ecosystems that would follow. By mastering the skies, insects not only secured their dominance in ancient landscapes, but also played a crucial role in shaping the evolutionary trajectory of countless other species. Their adaptations in flight mechanics, wing structures, and muscle systems highlight the incredible ingenuity of evolution and underscore the importance of flight in the survival and success of early life forms. As the prehistoric world continued to evolve, so too did the environments that flying insects inhabited. The Carboniferous period, with its vast oxygen-rich forests and humid climate, began to give way to new geological eras marked by changing climates, fluctuating oxygen levels, and the emergence of new groups of terrestrial vertebrates. These shifts introduced fresh challenges and competition that prehistoric insects had to face in order to survive. The rise of early reptiles and amphibians, as well as a gradual decline in atmospheric oxygen levels, created a new dynamic in which insects had to adapt their flying strategies and capabilities to maintain their dominance. One of the most significant developments during this time was the rise of early amphibians and reptiles. These new inhabitants of Earth's terrestrial landscapes represented a major shift in the food web as they brought new predatory pressures that flying insects had never encountered before. Early amphibians, such as temnospondyls, were large, semi-aquatic creatures capable of preying on insects that ventured too close to the water's surface. Similarly, early reptiles like Halonomus, which were among the first to become fully terrestrial, posed threats to insects in the dense undergrowth and on low branches. These vertebrates introduced new dangers for insects, prompting adaptations in flight mechanics, behavior, and even physical characteristics to ensure their survival. Faced with new predators that could reach and pursue them on land, prehistoric insects needed to refine their flight strategies to become faster, more agile, and capable of evading capture. This refinement in flight abilities is evident in the fossil records of ancient dragonflies and other predatory insects. As these insects became faster and more precise in their flight, they could better avoid the snapping jaws of amphibians and reptiles. Their heightened agility allowed them to stay one step ahead of their would-be predators, adapting their aerial acrobatics to navigate through dense forests and evade capture. Some insects also responded to these new pressures by developing improved sensory capabilities. For instance, the large compound eyes of dragonfly-like insects were well suited for detecting movement from afar, giving them a visual advantage when identifying approaching threats. Insects with more developed visual systems could spot predators from a greater distance and take evasive action earlier. This visual acuity, combined with their refined flight mechanics, enabled these insects to thrive even as new threats emerged. The rise of new predators also influenced the way insects interacted with their environment. With the appearance of early reptiles that could climb trees and hunt on low vegetation, some insects began to exploit higher levels of the forest canopy, effectively partitioning their habitats vertically to avoid predation. This vertical partitioning meant that certain insects specialized in feeding on higher foliage or in laying their eggs on elevated branches, keeping them out of reach of ground-dwelling predators. The ability to adapt to different forest strata not only allowed insects to evade predators, but also opened up new ecological niches for feeding and reproduction. In addition to avoiding predators, insects faced new challenges in securing food sources and finding mates. As their habitats changed and the climate became more variable, prehistoric insects had to adapt their flight capabilities to cover longer distances in search of resources. Some insects evolved more streamlined wing shapes that reduced drag and increased their efficiency during sustained flights. This adaptation allowed them to traverse greater distances between food sources, especially in regions where resources were becoming scarcer or more scattered. Moreover, the diversification of early plants played a crucial role in shaping insect flight capabilities. As plant life evolved, so did the resources available to insects. The emergence of seed plants and the proliferation of early flowering plants introduced new feeding opportunities. To capitalize on these resources, some insects began to develop specialized behaviors such as pollination and nectar feeding. This shift in behavior led to co-evolutionary relationships between insects and plants, where both groups influenced each other's evolution. For insects, it meant further refinements in their flight abilities, such as hovering, which was crucial for feeding on nectar-rich flowers. However, it wasn't just new predators and ecological changes that insects had to contend with. Changing environmental conditions also played a major role in shaping insect evolution. The gradual decline in atmospheric oxygen levels from the high concentrations seen during the Carboniferous period meant that giant insects, which had once thrived, faced new physiological constraints. As oxygen levels decreased, the tracheal respiratory systems of insects became less efficient at supplying oxygen to larger bodies. This change in atmospheric composition may have forced insects to evolve smaller body sizes, as larger sizes became unsustainable with the available oxygen. Smaller body sizes did not spell the end of insect dominance in the skies, but rather they led to new adaptations. Smaller insects required less energy to sustain flight and could more easily maneuver in tight spaces, allowing them to exploit new ecological niches in forest understories, crevices, and other complex habitats. These adaptations were vital as prehistoric insects faced increasing competition not only from new predators, but also from other insects and arthropods vying for similar resources. The evolutionary arms race between insects and their predators continued to drive innovations in insect flight capabilities. While insects refined their speed, agility, and flight endurance, some predators developed new hunting strategies to catch them. Early reptiles, for example, evolved limb adaptations that allowed for climbing and gliding, enabling them to pursue insects into higher branches and foliage. This ongoing competition likely spurred further adaptations among insects, such as improved wing shapes, faster flight speeds, and new forms of camouflage. Camouflage and mimicry became essential strategies for many insects trying to avoid predation. The ability to blend in with the surrounding environment or to mimic the appearance of inedible objects or other dangerous animals allowed certain insects to evade detection by predators. For instance, some prehistoric insects developed wing patterns that resembled the leaves or bark of trees, making them nearly invisible to the keen eyes of predators. Others evolved warning coloration or mimicry patterns that signaled toxicity or danger, deterring potential predators from attempting to eat them. Beyond physical adaptations, the changing environmental conditions and increased competition likely influenced the social behaviors of prehistoric insects. Insects like ants and termites, which were beginning to establish early social structures, likely developed new communication methods to coordinate group activities, such as defense, food gathering, and nest building. Flight played a crucial role in these behaviors, enabling certain members of insect colonies to scout for resources, communicate warnings of threats, and establish new colonies in safer or more resource-rich locations. As prehistoric insects continued to adapt to these new pressures, their evolutionary innovations laid the groundwork for the emergence of even more specialized forms of flight and behavior. The increasing complexity of ancient ecosystems meant that insects had to navigate not only new predators, but also new forms of competition from within their own ranks. This led to a proliferation of different insect species, each evolving unique flight patterns and wing structures tailored to their specific ecological roles. Insects that excelled in quick bursts of speed or short flights over dense vegetation developed broader wings with a high lift-to-weight ratio, allowing them to quickly take off and maneuver in confined spaces. Meanwhile, other insects that needed to cover long distances developed narrower, more elongated wings that optimized their efficiency for sustained flight. The diversity in wing shapes and flight mechanics among prehistoric insects highlights the wide range of strategies that evolved in response to changing environmental pressures and emerging competitors. By the end of the Permian period, insects had already diversified into numerous groups, each with its own specialized adaptations for flight, feeding, and reproduction. This diversification not only ensured their survival, but also set the stage for future evolutionary developments as new forms of life, such as the first flying reptiles and eventually birds, entered the scene. Insects remained a dominant force in the skies, even as these new competitors emerged, adapting their flight mechanics and behaviors to maintain their place in the evolving ecosystems. The changes and challenges that prehistoric insects faced during this time are a testament to the resilience and adaptability of these early pioneers of the sky. Their ability to continuously refine their flight capabilities in response to new predators, shifting environments, and increasing competition underscores the importance of flight as a key evolutionary strategy. By the end of this dynamic period, insects had firmly established themselves as masters of the air, setting the stage for the next chapter in the evolutionary story of flight. As prehistoric insects navigated and adapted to a constantly evolving world, their innovations in flight laid the groundwork for profound changes in Earth's ecosystems. These early masters of the skies influenced not only their immediate environment, but also set in motion a chain of evolutionary developments that would shape the course of life on the planet. By the time insects had perfected their various flight mechanics, their role in ancient ecosystems extended far beyond mere survival. They played a key part in establishing complex interactions with plants, influencing the evolution of vertebrates, and contributing to the biodiversity that would later define the planet. Understanding the legacy of prehistoric insects is crucial to comprehending how life as we know it emerged and flourished. One of the most significant and enduring impacts of early flying insects was their relationship with plants. Long before birds and mammals, insects began to form intricate ecological bonds with the flora of the ancient world. Insects were among the first animals to interact with plants in ways that went beyond simple herbivory. As certain plant species evolved to exploit insects for pollination and seed dispersal, insects responded by developing specialized structures and behaviors that made them more effective pollinators. This co-evolutionary relationship between plants and insects was a game changer, fostering the development of new plant species and leading to the diversification of flowering plants that dominate modern ecosystems. The fossil record suggests that by the time the first true angiosperms, flowering plants, appeared in the Cretaceous period, insects had already honed their abilities as pollinators. Early wasps, bees, and butterflies had specialized mouthparts adapted for feeding on nectar and pollen, and their flight patterns allowed them to move efficiently between flowers. This relationship benefited both parties. Plants gained a reliable means of reproduction and genetic dispersal, while insects found a rich and stable food source. This symbiosis not only accelerated the diversification of flowering plants, but also paved the way for the intricate web of interdependencies we see in modern ecosystems. Another profound legacy of prehistoric flying insects lies in their influence on the evolution of early vertebrates, particularly birds. Insects had already been the masters of the skies for millions of years when the first feathered dinosaurs began experimenting with gliding and rudimentary forms of flight. Early birds and pterosaurs faced a world where insects had already established aerial dominance, and this presence likely played a significant role in shaping the evolution of vertebrate flight. Fossil evidence from the Mesozoic era indicates that insects were a primary food source for many early avian species and their reptilian predecessors. The development of flight among birds was not just a matter of locomotion, but also an adaptation to access the rich ecological niche that flying insects occupied. Early birds evolved sharp talons, specialized beaks, and agile flight capabilities to catch insects in midair. This predator-prey relationship drove birds to refine their own flying abilities, leading to the development of features such as flapping flight, maneuverable feathers, and keen eyesight, all adaptations that improved their efficiency as insect hunters. However, the influence of prehistoric insects on birds went beyond mere predation. Birds had to compete with insects not only for prey, but also for space in the aerial environment. As birds evolved better flight mechanics, they began to occupy higher regions of the forest canopy, partitioning the aerial habitat between insect species and themselves. This vertical stratification of habitats allowed both groups to coexist, reducing direct competition and enabling a more diverse array of species to thrive within the same ecosystems. The rise of flying insects also had cascading effects on other groups of animals. For example, the emergence of pollinating insects played a crucial role in shaping the diets and behaviors of early mammals. Small insectivorous mammals evolved traits that allowed them to exploit insect populations, while others adapted to feed on the fruits and seeds produced by insect-pollinated plants. This shift in diet and ecological interactions helped drive the diversification of mammals, contributing to the complex ecosystems that would emerge in the late Mesozoic and Cenozoic eras. In addition to their direct impact on plants and vertebrates, flying insects were instrumental in shaping the structure and dynamics of ancient ecosystems. By pollinating plants, dispersing seeds, and serving as prey for larger animals, insects became a fundamental part of the food web. Their sheer abundance and diversity meant that they played a central role in nutrient cycling and energy transfer within these ecosystems. Insects were not just beneficiaries of their adaptations. They were architects of the ecosystems they inhabited, influencing the distribution and abundance of other species around them. The diversification of prehistoric flying insects also contributed to the development of new ecological niches. As insects evolved specialized feeding, reproductive, and flight behaviors, they opened up new opportunities for other organisms to exploit. For instance, certain fungi and parasites evolved in tandem with insects, capitalizing on the complex life cycles and behaviors of their hosts. The emergence of social insects, such as ants and termites, further complicated these interactions, giving rise to intricate mutualistic and parasitic relationships that would later define entire ecosystems. By the time birds, mammals, and flowering plants came to dominate Earth's landscapes, insects had already laid the groundwork for these complex ecosystems to flourish. Their early innovations in flight allowed them to spread to diverse habitats and adapt to changing environmental conditions, setting the stage for future evolutionary developments. The adaptability of insects in response to new competitors and predators, fluctuating climates, and shifting landscapes ensured their continued success and dominance across geological epochs. Another enduring aspect of the legacy of prehistoric insects is their contribution to the stability and resilience of ecosystems. Insects play a crucial role in pollination, decomposition, and soil formation, processes that are essential for the health and stability of terrestrial environments. Long before the advent of modern ecosystems, prehistoric insects were performing these essential functions, maintaining the balance of ancient habitats and fostering the conditions necessary for life to diversify. The innovations of prehistoric insects also left a mark on the evolution of defense mechanisms and communication strategies among various organisms. As insects evolved intricate flight patterns, predators had to develop more sophisticated hunting strategies. This evolutionary arms race drove the development of new adaptations on both sides, from more agile flight in predatory birds to complex escape maneuvers and warning signals in prey insects. The interactions between insects and their predators created a dynamic environment where natural selection pushed each group to continuously adapt and refine their strategies. Perhaps the most profound legacy of prehistoric insects, however, lies in the sheer diversity they introduced to the biosphere. From the moment they took to the skies, insects set the stage for an explosion of biodiversity that has shaped life on Earth for hundreds of millions of years. Today, insects account for the vast majority of known animal species, and their early evolutionary innovations in flight played a significant role in enabling this diversity. By opening up new ecological opportunities and driving the coevolution of other species, insects contributed to the creation of ecosystems that are rich, interconnected, and resilient. In essence, the legacy of prehistoric insects is one of innovation, adaptation, and transformation. From their pioneering role in flight to their coevolution with plants and vertebrates, insects shaped the ancient world in profound ways. Their ability to adapt to new challenges and exploit new opportunities ensured their survival and success, even as the environment around them changed. By understanding the legacy of prehistoric insects, we gain insight into the evolutionary roots of modern biodiversity and the enduring importance of insects in the fabric of life on Earth. The story of these ancient pioneers is not just a tale of survival. It is a testament to the incredible potential of life to innovate and adapt in response to new challenges. The success of prehistoric insects in conquering the skies before birds, in shaping ancient ecosystems, and in influencing the evolution of other organisms serves as a reminder of the interconnectedness of all life and the profound impact that one group of creatures can have on the entire biosphere. Today, as we look at the intricate relationships between insects, plants, and animals, we can trace many of these connections back to the evolutionary legacy of the first flying insects and the innovations that allowed them to soar through the ancient skies.